Who are you and how did you end up here?
My name is Norman. I ended up here at this point in my life largely due to joining Patriot Front, which has been a incandescently positive experience for me. It's affected me spiritually and physically. I also put a lot of work into running the Jiu-Jitsu training, and for the school that we have, Patria Gloria, which is a Jiu-Jitsu school for nationalists. I'm usually a bodyguard and security for Thomas himself during marches, and I work extensively in networking, recruitment, diplomacy, and I also handle some of the projects pertaining to spiritual organization for heathens in the organization.
Gone into creating it.
Tribal lands.
Where is it? Where is it going in the future? What is it?
Tribal lands, and the official name for my land itself is Thoku Garther, which means misty stronghold or castle in the clouds. Tribal land was a project that began almost a decade ago, and it stemmed from some of the same desires that many like-minded, like-blooded people have for an intentional community, private property, self-sustainable property. And it's close to 200 acres, and we have a number of families working together there. I have my own tribal elders and chieftains that I follow. They're my leaders there. They run the entire property. I help manage it and organize projects. And we began that project, again, close to 10 years ago now, and it really started to take off, and construction and full-time living on that property started closer to about 4 years ago. And I've been out there full-time myself now for about 2 years. The construction, building the houses, building the Hof up on the top of the hill, is stuff that's happened in grades over time. It's never-ending projects there, but it's quite wonderful. We have a lot of people that live with limited resources there in a very pioneer-esque way, very frontiersman way, that puts you in close contact with nature and the land itself.
What is the spirituality there for your tribal land?
We are Odinists, which is Germanic heathenry. That's European paganism. And very specifically, we follow a Setian practition of Odinism, which is a very focused, authentic expression of the faith through the sources and through the sagas. That type of faith and spirituality has been present in most of the states of America for almost the entirety of America's existence, but it has slowly grown more and more, especially in the recent years. In the past 2 decades, it's become much more prevalent, and people have probably seen more of it in that time.
What is your view on Christianity? Like, in your view, is it a roadblock to modern nationalism here in America?
Christianity is, regardless of different opinions on the origins of Christianity, it does have a presence in European history, certainly, and in American history, absolutely. Is it a roadblock to nationalism? I think that there's positive and negative Christianity. There are aspects that are very compatible with healthy and strong nations, and there are aspects of it that can be corrupted and bent towards something that's very negative and weak and against the values that we have. So I think it can go both ways, which is definitely the case for many different groups and religions in the world in different settings, but for us here in particular, I think that the days of Christian versus pagan animosity are lessened, especially of those of like mind and like blood in today's world have come together and created alliances, certainly functional alliances and organizations. But the faith itself is, Odinism is not defined by Christianity, by hostility or alliance to it. They are separate faiths. So I don't see it as a roadblock. It's evangelical, which is different than ethnic. So it's not necessarily a direct competition. It can be in some places, has been in some places throughout history, but today, much less animosity than there has been hundreds of years ago. So I love studying religion. I love observing different religions and seeing what they have and what they are, where people come from and what they think. So I have been around different Christian communities, certainly, and Orthodoxy and Catholicism, being the older and more traditional variants of Christianity, have perhaps more in common with some forms of authentic traditional paganism in the aspect of symbolism, of dogma, of doctrine, of ritual, especially of ritual, and that kind of history. I find that all to be very beautiful, and there have been men that have definitely come out to my land and other heathen events and observed respectfully from a boundary or a distance. So there's absolutely room for that. It's already been done and will probably continue to happen, where we're aware of and respectful of each other.
We just did a event recently, Winter Nights. What is Winter Nights? So.
Winter Nights is so a Veizla. It's a religious celebration. It's one of the main bloats, and they are holidays, but they are religiously focused holidays around the offerings and sacrifices that also include the competitions and games of our people in celebration alongside the offerings to the gods. Winter Nights is one of the 3 largest Veizla's holidays for heathens. It is a gathering, definitely of community, but to observe the traditional rites and the bloats of that shamanic tradition. And that's very anchored in European culture, but has expressed itself here in America as well. Winter Nights is anchored around 3 main bloats and sacrifices and offerings to the Alfar, to the Disir, and to Freyr.
Tonight, it's a winter night. Our mothers, our grandmothers, mothers before our grandmothers, our ancestors, women who once died, protecting their children, raising their children, give us the knowledge. We don't know their names.
Or the altar to make an offering. Consider where this offering is going, and you may whisper the names, you may speak the names.
I call upon Frey. I call upon Freya. Hail Freya! Hail Freya! Hail Freya! Hail Freya! So many new children among our folk this year. More and more it seems like every year now, there's more and more. And we thank you for this. It's the only way that we can exist. And yet it's also the only way that you can exist. As long as your children still alive and still remember your name, you will live.
Why is Odinism relevant to Americans? Well, this is a patrilineal faith, and it has to do absolutely with genetics and ethnicity, but there is a great deal of original American stock, Anglo-Saxon, that has birthright claim for Odinic faith. Odinic faith is very natural to European diaspora, which we are. In America, we are not the bastards of Europe, we are the sons of Europe. And Odinism has values and virtues and lifestyles that are extremely strong. They are extremely applicable in today's world. They've been applicable throughout history. That have a huge focus on honor, on the family, on your belonging to a larger organization of your people. It's anchored in loyalty. So functionally, it has a lot of value for Americans today in the world that we live in, and it has historical and genetic precedents for being connected to who we are and how we live our lives.
What are your political views, and do you think that spirituality is relevant in the 21st century to it?
Absolutely. So I am an American nationalist. I am a patriot. And I believe deeply in that form of ethnic nationalism that is at its core original and accurate to American history and tradition. And Odinism, all the way back to European roots, you have very tribal beliefs and the existence of tribes gathering together into nations, which could be monarchy. It could be under a king. Historically, frequently it was, but gathering together tribes into nations is very, very compatible with Odinism and American nationalism. They have similar values and similar structure. In American history, we have examples of things that come from very heathen roots. Up in Pennsylvania, in the north, you have the Amish and the Dutch. You have things like Hexenschaft and their barn stars and the symbology they use that has very runic designs and meanings as well that are intended as blessings. And these things stem from paganism, healthy paganism. You have the American runestones, which likely were not carved by very, very early explorers, Leif Erikson and other Vikings like that. They were likely carved by later colonists that came from Europe during some of the initial settlements, and they had an unclear or imperfect recollection or understanding of paganism or Odinism, but they recorded what they might have known. And there's lots of study that goes into like the Kensington runestone and where it really came from and what it really means, and they're fascinating subjects. But it shows that our people, at the very least, have maintained contact with that side of our historical spirituality. Appalachian folklore is a huge one. The amount of culture inside of Appalachia and the way that those traditions, that folklore, those stories have been passed down that have heathen roots through and through is very beautiful. It's very beautiful, and it's part of American culture even today. An excellent example of pagan symbology being present in actual American statecraft is Thomas Jefferson desired to put on the seal of the nation Hengist and Horsa, which are the semi-divine twins, princes of Anglo-Saxon mythology. They're heroes. And that's very close to us, symbolically, religiously, but also just culturally and in terms of the artwork and history of it. If you look at original American architecture in most of the large cities, and especially the early colony areas, you see some beautiful stonework, some masonry, you see some designs, animals, you see things that are reminiscent of pagan Rome that are quite beautiful. And that's another really great example of Lady Liberty and Columbia was not only kind of a folklore symbol, but that is a continuation of the divine goddesses of Minerva and Athena. And it is in that way very Roman, and the inheritance of Nova Roma Americana that we have here in America. But that sort of symbology, and I think there are misconceptions on exactly how Christian and what type of faith were the founding fathers and the early colonists, and make no denial that the majority of these things were Christian influence. They were Christian men, Christian women, Christian families and governments, but it was not founded solely as a particular form of Christianity, although there may have been majorities and minorities. But the thought processes, the attitudes, the behaviors of many of these early founding fathers and the designs they put into place and their actions, very Odinic, very heathen. And that's also part of being European diaspora. Even if we have a large portion of our population is Christian, you can't remove the heathen roots from our blood and bones. That will express itself in the culture no matter what.
A lot of people think that heathenism is irrelevant in America because we don't have the same heathen roots that Europeans do. But if you go back, heathen Europe, we share all the exact same history. Because we didn't come over until after that time period.
Yes, and heathenry is very connected to the land and soil. That's absolutely right. Europe will always be the heart of heathenry. But again, we are the sons of Europe, not the bastards. We are not disconnected. We are absolutely connected. You can even look at geology. The mountains under Appalachia are part of the same giant spine of tectonic plates that run all the way into Europe. We have geologically, and thus in nature around us, we have a connection to Europe in the lay of the land. The spirituality that we have is not a stagnant, dead, non-mobile faith. It is connected to us by blood and by action. And our ancestors came here to America, and we fought very hard for what we have. We built beautiful, amazing things. That is part of life. And heathenry is part of life. So it is connected to us where we go and where we work, where we bleed, where we live, and where we die.
Winter Nights was the opening of Academy 1, but what went into building that academy?
Oh man, enormous amounts of effort. We had men from across all of Patriot Front come in and volunteer to help work, and we have had so much volunteer work because that's what it takes. And I moved onto the land to do this full time, and the managers of the land, my elder, my chieftain, he and his wife have put in more work than I've seen from an entire generation of younger individuals. It's what it takes. It takes hard work. It takes labor. And we've been out there in every season, every type of weather, roofing, concrete work, timber, sawmills, putting in walls, running electrical circuits, plumbing. You have to design and make the lay of the land. When we got out there initially, there was no roads. There was nothing at all. So we fought into that and developed a relationship with the land itself as we built this. But that's the logistics of the construction of the Academy 01. And then having the aesthetic, having artists come together and present gifts and flags and paintings and create something truly meaningful to fill that space with. And now we have instructors and curriculum. We have the pursuit of the martial arts being trained and practiced in the school is at a very high professional level.
What is Patria Gloria? Because that's been a big part of this.
Yeah, Patria Gloria is the school that myself and Samuel Virginia started for Patriot Front and for nationalists across America and across the world, really, for Jiu-Jitsu. And we do have bare knuckle, we do have HEMA, but Jiu-Jitsu is the core of it. Jiu-Jitsu is the main focus. And this school is to give our men a place to gather and train. And we have multiple campuses being built, multiple academies. Academy 01 is mine on Thoku Garther. And this project with Patria Gloria is to give our men training not only for the sport and the therapeutic side of jiu-jitsu as a athletic pursuit, which we do produce competitors, but it also gives us a community to train this martial art to strengthen our own bodies, minds, and souls. It's encompassing every part of the art of jiu-jitsu, but also the art of grappling as it goes back in history, American grappling as well.
All right, so we're gonna start down here at the end. I'm gonna have 3 minutes on the clock. Teams, if you can just back up to the wall here.
Hey, calm, right that leg.
Nice. Hip, and then bring your left leg.
Quick, come on, get up.
Be careful with his leg. Don't let him get a triangle. Don't let him get a triangle. Bump him to right. North, bump him to right.
Take it back. There you go.
Close up your guard. Close up your leg. Your leg is flat, brother. It's clear he does it a lot. You see what that means? Yeah. Take his arm, Ian. Take his arm. Take his arm. Get him down. Wear him down. Make suffer. Hurt him. Make now slide it down. Make him fuck.
Don't let him drag you back.
Did he lose it again? He just like wants it. Yeah, throw away. This is your house.
Yes.
Ian, this is your house. Win in your house. Let's go. Get him. Let's go. Let's go. Ian. Alright guys, we're just going to do some straight rounds now. We're going to get the timer on 5 minutes. Pick a partner, pick somebody you want to roll with. 5-minute round.
So your goal is to basically keep your hook and you're just you can just push. Like kind of goes open It is not like that at all. It's like right.
What was it you were just on?
Yeah, there is this idea and this claim sometimes, especially from those of other faiths that would seek to criticize heathenry, which again is one of the fastest growing faiths for our people in Northern America. The idea that it is a broken tradition or that it's so lost in the past that it could never be recovered or understood or followed, and this is a lie. It was never totally lost. It was never totally broken. There are communities even in Europe, in Austria, in Latvia, in Estonia that never stopped practicing these faiths. And the way that we have been able to connect ourselves, especially with greater understanding and greater study and legitimate faith and practice to the sources, to the original sagas, to the Eddas, this has given us connection to the past that is applicable in the present and will carry us to the future. The Rona Society is one of the best examples of this being done successfully. The Ermine folk is another group that has a beautiful tradition that is absolutely connected with a strong chain to the past that once again it leads to the future. So we don't have to be replicating exactly what happened in Iron Age Europe to be fully authentic, because this is a living faith connected to the sources, connected to the people. And I don't believe that most are totally aware of that until you scratch a little bit beneath the surface and you see that we have piles and piles and piles of lore and literature and examples of this faith being alive in communities, larger and larger communities. Things are going very well in that regard. And that's very encouraging to those that have genuine interest. And it's a little bit baffling to those that don't. They don't always take it seriously and understand that this heathenry is dynamic, it's expressive, it's resilient, and it has more and more on the table as we study genetics, linguistics, anthropology, archaeology. Serves to confirm more and more of the things that we study and practice and do. And it's quite a beautiful thing to see the faith grow stronger and larger in that way.
One of the things that stands out to me, making this document, attending Winter Nights with you, and the preparing on this documentary, it seems like the more I look into heathenism, it does seem, my initial thoughts were it seems very disconnected and hard to understand and kind of a mess. But the more I look into it, you look into sagas, and almost every other word has multiple meanings.
Yes.
It seems almost like it's intentionally a puzzle that you have to
Yes.
study. Do you think that's true?
Absolutely. So the faith of Odinism and different forms of paganism from Europe as well, that these are not a sales pitch. They're not an advertisement. It is not an evangelical system designed to get as many converts as possible or to save the souls of foreigners. It is not even about charity to those outside of our faith, of our communities. Kennings is an example in the sagas and the lore of things spoken poetically to conceal multiple meanings. It is meant to have layered meanings that requires effort to understand, because these things are valuable. They're not supposed to be easy. They are meant to be strong and valuable. And you discover these things as you put years of effort into study and living the life of Odinism, because it is about orthopraxy, not necessarily orthodoxy, and that's a detailed argument that can be made some other time. But it has to do with correct action and loyalty. Glory and loyalty and honor, more important than mercy or salvation or constantly seeking to undo some fabric of sin that doesn't exist in Odinism. We're loyal to our own, and we produce beauty for our gods and for our people. And it's very genuine. It's a very genuine and strong tradition in that way.
Your tribal lands, Patria Gloria, Jiu-Jitsu, bare knuckle fights. Where are we going with this? What does the future look like?
We're going to continue to create a culture of art expressed through martial arts, but also in the spirituality of our faith as it connects to nationalism. It is a total lifestyle and complete community that's connected at every section of athletic pursuit, of faith, of living on the land, working and having a good life and building larger families. The goal of the future of this is a strong and beautiful world. We're never truly separated from these things, even if we forget how to feel it or we forget how to see it, until you're back in ritual and you're with your people. There is no substitute. There will never be a substitute for your own people. What we do here is worth 1,000 times more than whatever could be brought to bear with foreigners. While some of it can be understood, practiced, and studied by yourself, you must find a community. You must join a tribe or a clan, or you must start your own. And the genetics that we so closely protect, that we must always protect,